What's the secret to your teen's happiness?
Gang, that is a great question. And I think that's why we're all here, trying to crack the code. What is the secret to our teens' happiness? Because wouldn't it be great if we could help them be happy all the time?
Absolutely. I love whenever there's a question that has the word secret in it.
It's nice. It makes us feel like we're really smart.
What is the secret to busting a zone defense?
Yes. What's the secret to losing all that weight?
What is the secret to you qualifying for the Boston Marathon?
There is no secret.
There is no secret?
Consistent effort over a long period of time. I don't know if that, yes, that's the secret.
And we are going to get to the secret of your teen's happiness. I promise you. But first, Nate,
about secrets. We have some great secrets in the mindset series that we just did, right?
Yeah. Why don't you give me a recap? I've forgotten it all.
Well, you got to go back and listen to episodes 44 through 49 if you want the secrets of the mindset series. But no, the quick recap there is that mindset series is just 6 short ideas that are super powerful for helping you coach your kids as they go through developing a stronger mindset, especially for their performance and their athletics and their activities and whatever they're doing. Having that mindset series down is great. And, it just starts with all progress starts with the truth. Where the focus goes, the energy flows, and then it just builds from there.
It's a sequential.
Yep. Start with episode 44 and go.
I love the way they build on each other.
Yeah.
And I know I've had some really, really good success with my clients, taking them through those 6 steps and applying it specifically to their personal and professional life.
Each one of the steps has a significant amount of power, but executed sequentially it's kind of a multiplier effect, where when you go through it and you start with that foundation of all progress starts with the truth, and then you can really, really make some progress in the others because you're dealing with the truth. You manage your focus, you manage your beliefs, you get all those things down. You understand that the event plus the response is what equals the outcome. They all add together.
Good stuff.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, it's great stuff. I like the multiplier word in there. Dan Sullivan would have been really happy to hear the word multiplier.
Of course.
Yes. I think now's a good time to tell our listeners, you're probably listening to this right now, but as of this episode, we are going full video on our podcast. And those of you that get your audio wherever you get it, you'll still be able to get it. If for some reason you want to watch the video version of the podcast,
you're dying to know what we look like.
Yeah. Then you can do this on YouTube. And we have a YouTube channel. It is Create, Transform, Become. I think it's named Nate and Steve, which was, that's really an original title.
Just our names. It's kind of cool.
Sure. There will be links in the show notes and ways for you to find
it's getting
that.
All fancy. It's so cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of the video podcast. I know you love it. You love the camera.
No.
You love the camera. You do.
No, I don't like the way I look on the camera. It is what it is.
Yeah. I often feel like that plant that's on the top of my shelf. That's
just put your head under it so it looks like the plant is like, there you go. Now it's like the mistletoe. You should have Steph come in and give you a kiss.
Yeah. Okay, why don't we revisit the stop parenting, start coaching concept, Nate? Because I think we may, I know we are getting more and more listeners all the time. And if you haven't listened to episode 1, if you're just jumping in and someone has shared a recent episode with you, you may not have a full grasp of why we even named our podcast the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast. What does that mean? It actually sounds a little awful. I don't know. Hey,
not
stop
awful
parent.
at all, but
Hey,
it
stop
sounds
parenting.
it sounds out of the ordinary because it's like it is a little bit different, but the concept is trying to get people to take a step back and look at how they're parenting their teens specifically, because parenting your kids and parenting your teens is two very different approaches. And so the coaching mindset is to try to get people into that space where it's focusing on helping your teens take ownership for their life, their decisions, their thinking, their future. And it's the coaching approach that does that. And it works really well for us because, you know, we're basketball coaches. We've been coaches for decades, even longer combined. But the coaching approach is helping kids to jump in to their own lives and really roll with that. And that's what we want to encourage parents to do. So it's not about stepping back and just getting out of the way and let your kids do whatever they want. It's about considering the role that you play in that and how you can most effectively empower your teens to be their best. Hey, and I love the applause. I don't think we've celebrated the fact that this is actually our 50th episode, halfway to
50th.
100. 50th, 50. I think that's incredibly cool. And it's just it's an honor to have, you know, a growing number of listeners as we do this, because our biggest goal is to help parents connect with their teens. And that's it. Like, that's what we want. We want them, because that relationship in and of itself is the most important relationship in any family.
Speaking of that, well, I was thinking that we, you know, as starving, struggling waiters and artists, coaches, that we are almost at the 1 year mark.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
we publish every Monday, and we had no idea where this was going to go when we started, but here we are nearly 1 year later.
1 year later, 52 episodes will be coming up soon.
Yeah. Going to video. And so a little plug to, thanks to Riverside, they've made it so easy for us to go to video. So anyway, we love Riverside. You just mentioned the most important relationship for teens is that with their parents. And I think that's a good lead in to where we're going to go. We're going to go on a 4-episode series, Nate.
Love it.
We just finished the 6-episode mindset series. We are going to examine the key concepts that are in a book called The Good Life. This isn't going to be a book review. I mean, go read the book. Go listen to the book. I highly recommend it. It was came out in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And this book was written by a guy named Marc Schulz and Robert Waldinger. They are nerds, Nate. They are nerds.
Yay!
And it's pretty impressive what the project that they are part of. And it's the longest longitudinal survey of happipiness. So when I hear longitudinal, I mean, I think of geography and the globe. And what do you think of when I tell you this is the world's most enduring longitudinal survey of happiness?
I don't think of geography. You tell me that in that context, and like, I know what that means, having gone through my master's program and everything. This is done over a very, very long period of time.
85 years for this.
Yeah, these studies are crazy because they basically pass the research. It's almost like the family heirloom or the heirloom of the department, and it just gets passed on from generation of researcher to generation of researcher. But they continue to follow up with the same people and the same families over a long period of time. And it's a fascinating look at how these things factor in over the lifespan. That's what I think of. Nerd alert.
Oh, yeah, nerd alert. You were right on there. They've been following individuals from the same 724 families for more than 85 years.
Damn.
So you've got 2 generations involved, and in the book, I mean, they talk about all of the questions that they ask. They literally ask thousands of questions and take hundreds of measurements with these families, and they go back and revisit them. And so you have all different ages involved in this study, and it is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And they come to some conclusions that maybe for us and most people you'd say, well, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And but taking that information and then applying it to your life, and especially as a parent, how do I apply this in my family? How do I apply this to my teen athlete and performer? That's a different
Yeah, and
a whole
that's
different ball game right
the
there.
takeaway. That's the big takeaway.
So I'm going to read you just a quick little segment from the book that I think our listeners, I think this will give you a taste of what we're going to be focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
What if we could watch entire lives as they unfold through time? What if we could study people from the time that they were teenagers all the way into old age to see what really matters to a person's health and happiness, and which investments really paid off? So that's what they did. And I think there's some great findings, some great information. I know you really love this stuff because you love, if I say research or findings, you get really excited. And by the way, Nate, I do want to give a shout out to my friend Michelle,
Mm-hmm.
because I remember reading a book summary on The Good Life when it came out. I was there's an app called Blinkist that does book summaries, and that's a way to digest a lot of key information when you want to read 40 books a week, but you don't have time to read 40 books a week. And I remember putting this on my list as, okay, this is something I want. This is a book I want to explore more later. And it just so happened my friend Michelle was giving a talk, and she mentioned this book, and she actually mentioned the secret that's in this, the secret in this book. And I remember taking some notes and saying, oh my gosh, this is something we need to explore on the podcast. So anyway, shout out to my friend Michelle, one of
Thanks,
our
Michelle.
listeners. Yeah, she helped spark this 4-episode series. So this first episode 50 here, where I don't know, maybe this one is going to be the more boring episode for me, because I want to really get to drill down and get to some of the practical aspects of what parents can do. And we may hit some of that here. Well, in fact, I know we will, because every
We'll
time
hit the secret, right?
we'll hit the secret for
Yeah.
sure. Should we give a clue? It starts with the letter.
Nah, no clues.
No clues?
No clues.
Okay, let's play a little game, Nate. I'm going to give you a phrase,
Okay.
and you just go. I mean, I'll have Siri set the nerd timer over here on each of these.
Okay. I'll try to stay under the timer.
How much time do you want for each one?
30 to 60 seconds.
Okay, 15 to 30 seconds.
Hey. All right.
Okay, emotional well-being.
Emotional well-being. I'm going to try to put all these in the context of like parenting type things, or parenting.
You should, because that's that's why we're here.
Right. And so this idea of to start coaching your kids. So the emotional well-being, the emotional support that they get. One of the things that adds the most value with emotional support as a parent is to show your kids how to manage emotions. And that is by example more than anything else. Research done in other places suggests this, that one of the greatest contributions that we as parents make to our children, especially when they're teens, is showing them how to regulate and manage their emotions well. That's the single best way we can support them. The other way we can support them is obviously being present, listening, doing a lot of things we talk about in this episode and throughout the podcast.
Perfect. Okay, I know we don't like. Yeah, I think you're okay.
Okay.
What about stress management? I know we don't actually like the word management there when we say stress, but dealing with stress, coping with stress.
Mm-hmm. The key to stress management for anybody is just having people in your lives that can help you talk through a problem. Sometimes just thinking out loud to somebody else is the best way to try to deal with stress. Just being able to, vent or to share some thoughts, share some ideas. That's one of the keys. And that's one of the greatest roles that a parent can play for their teens is just provide that sounding board where your teens can just puke whatever they need to, get it off their chest. And you don't respond emotionally. You just absorb and you're there and you listen. And I think that's a big key to stress management.
Sure. I did not see puke coming into today's episode. I did not.
I was hoping you'd
I
have a sound effect for that.
I mean, I guess it goes with, no, I do not have
I can
a
make one.
sound.
Can you imagine that? Because you know how there's people that when they hear that sound, they feel nauseated themselves.
This may be cut out. This
Wouldn't
may
that
be
be funny
cut
if
out
you
during.
play the sound and it's one of our listeners is listening while they're driving and they start retching in their car?
Well,
thank you.
Yeah.
Next up.
Yeah, feeling a little queasy right now. What about sense of belonging, Nate?
Oh, sense of belonging is so important for our overall happiness. Just feeling like you have a place. And teens are in an interesting situation because they almost need to have two strong senses of belongings. One, they need a sense of connection with their peers, where they feel like they have a pocket where they fit in. But they also have a more powerful need for a sense of belonging in a home sense. And it's that safe base that allows them to build successful relationships with their peers. So you almost have to think of that sense of belonging in a tier for your teen, because you're providing a very different sense of belonging than they get from their peers. And that's an important distinction to make. Is I think a lot of parents, this is going to run over my timer, but I think we need to talk about this in the context of parenting and coaching your teens the way we're talking about. You want to be there for them, and parents can often get sucked into the, well, I want to be their friend. Yeah, you do want to be their friend, but you need to be a different kind of friend. Your friendship is more centered in that I'm providing the super secure home base type of foundation and sense of belonging, whereas their peers can fill a very different version of that role. And you as a parent can't fill that same role, even if you try. So when you try, it usually messes it up. But staying in that space of, hey, I'm going to be here for you. We're going to have a great true friendship, but it's different. And they need that two-tiered sense of belonging. And you as the parent can provide that more secure foundational piece at home that allows them to have better relationships with better kids in their peer group.
And isn't it true that we, as parents, we often discount the fact that they really, really want a great relationship with us? Because
I love the way you said that.
we tend to be so focused on their friend relationship, and we think that's what's most important to them. But deep down inside, they are craving a great relationship with their parents.
And if they have that, it's so freeing for them to go out and explore their world from a safe, secure sense of attachment that they have with you as the parent there at home. And that's why the coaching role, this whole idea of stop parenting and start coaching, if you can jump into that role as their home-based coach that loves them unconditionally, that's there for them, that can coach them through the problems that they're going to hit out in the world, that's the ideal scenario that sets them up for long-term happiness.
Awesome. What about what about growth mindset / opportunities for growth?
Wow. If you have a great relationship with your kids, it's basically like putting a golf ball up on a tee and just launching it. Your great relationships with them set them up for so many wonderful opportunities to grow. because they can explore freely. They don't have to, they're not like, oh, is my mom or my dad going to love me if I do? No, they're secure in that. And you really make them, you propel them forward.
Very well said. What about mutual care and responsibility?
That can be a really tough one for parents of teens because we pour our heart and soul into them, and it often doesn't feel like they're giving anything back to it. And that's one, like, you almost have to force yourself to take a long-term picture on this, because you're not necessarily going to feel the same kind of love and respect back.
Play the long game.
Play
Play
the
the
long
long
game.
game.
But I think we need to point out here that teens are actually really, they show their parents they care about them, but they do it in almost subconscious, very subtle ways. And if you as a parent can catch some of those things, and it might just be like one a week, but if you're really in tune and coming at it with an optimistic perspective, you can see that they care about you too.
Beautiful. Here's another one. Buffer against negative experiences.
I love the way that you said that, because there is no stopping negative experiences. One of the
What?
secrets to happiness is accepting the fact that life is going to have negative experiences. And so for your teens, it's not about stopping or preventing negative experiences, it's buffering against them. So when the negative experience happens, it doesn't cripple them. It just provides an opportunity to learn and grow. And your relationship with them is the ultimate buffer.
So you're saying the good life is not necessarily the easy life.
No. In fact, the good life, I would argue that the good life is often the hard life. But good and hard are two very different things. And they're not mutually exclusive. Like, if it's hard, doesn't mean that it's bad. And if it's easy, it doesn't mean that it's good. And helping your teen, like this is where, if we're on our game as parent coaches, we can really help our kids get extra value and extra growth out of their life when negative things pop up, and we coach them through handling those negative, hard experiences.
That's some hard truth right there, Nate.
I hope so. I love hard truth.
Let's finish with this. Back to a word you used earlier, which I love. Happiness multiplication.
Yeah. It's but the power, I mean, we know, like in investments, simple economics, you want to get your money in some type of an investment account and get it to start working for you. It's the same kind of thing with happiness and multiplying it. When you make small investments in your kids consistently and you build those connections, and we talk about this in the podcast a lot. Do they feel you love them? Do you believe in them? Do you trust them? Are you proud of them? If you make small investments to help them feel those things, the happiness that they experience in their lives multiplies significantly.
Surrounding yourself with great people, great relationships. So do you think we've revealed the secret?
I think if people are tuned in and locked in, they've caught it.
Yeah, one thing that I love that I got out of the book was that the authors emphasized that quality relationships are not a luxury. And I think sometimes because life is tough. It's not easy. And I think we sometimes we look at other people, we get into that comparison game, and we think, oh, it would be really nice to have a great relationship like the Johnsons over there.
Mm-hmm.
And we've once we realize that it's not a luxury, but it's a necessity, then I think it's easier to go to work.
Yeah. And if anyone's missed it, the secret is those relationships. The relationship you have with your teen is the secret to their happiness. And I mean, we've been in education, we've been in coaching for decades. The kids that are the happiest and are the most resilient are the ones that have the best relationships with their parents.
Great place to stop.
Yep.
Thanks, Nate.
Keep building it up.
Okay, we'll see you in episode 51, where we continue the good life.
On behalf of Steve Galley, I'm Nate Crandall, and we thank you, our loyal listeners, for tuning in to this episode. If you love what you're learning from the Stop Parenting and Start Coaching podcast, we would appreciate it very much if you would leave us a 5-star review and some glowing comments. We also encourage you to share this episode with your friends and family who are parents of athletes and performers. And if you want to explore further and see what Steve and I are creating to help thousands of parents, athletes, and performers, please visit our company's website at createtransformbecome.com. That's createtransformbecome, all one word, .com. There you'll find a growing number of resources to help you elevate your performance. Thank you again for your support, and we encourage you to create a magical relationship with your athlete and performer.